Hi there, and welcome. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Saturday, May 21st, 2022, and the topic for the day is called Out of the Blue. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening May 15th through the 20th, 2022, and this is show number 154. Now, I am recording outside once again today. If you hear any loud cheering and celebratory noises, I wish I could say it's people cheering the show on, but actually it's just an outdoor party going on in the neighborhood somewhere. And so you might hear all kinds of things. So hopefully it's colorful and entertaining to say the least. I'm going to go ahead and cover the show now. So this is just one of the covers. I'm going to show an alternate cover slide. I wasn't sure which one to go with. And this is the other one. Now I will cover both in the show ahead. What gets really interesting in this scene though is at C.1. That looks very interesting. We'll touch on that more later. And I would like to open with a Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day page. Just one this time. It's going to be super simplistic compared to some of my other shows. And I just feel like I'm supposed to leave it that way today. Leave it there that way today. And so this one is just the little overall title is called Sun Up, Possum Down. So I did go out to do some observations of the sky early one morning at about 6:30 in the morning. And I happened to catch this possum heading to bed, as you may be aware. Possums are typically nocturnal marsupials, and so they're up all night looking for food and doing what possums do. And then, so come sunrise, they head for shelter and try to find a nice little place to sleep. So there's a lot of wisdoms and things that can be learned from possums. It's very interesting if you want to take a look on your own. Go look up like the totem of the possum or spiritual meanings and symbolisms for the possum. And if one crosses your path, what does that mean? Or if you see one in a dream, what does that mean? There's all kinds of fascinating interpretations for this. But for right now, I feel that our little possum here's message would be your whole world seeming just a little bit gray. Do go get some rest, but first, sashay. And I want you to really note how this possum is just so casually, but also very gracefully sashaying off into its little bedtime habitat. So keep your eye on this possum down here. I'm going to play it a couple of times just for fun, but watch the little sashaying action on the back of this thing. It's really adorable. Here we go. And I'll play it again. And just one more time. I just love the back end of this thing. He's just like sashaying all over the place. He or she. All right, so that's it. Now we'll get into the sky observations portion of the show. And whether you're new or returning to this channel, thank you so much for being here, right now, and looking at this show with me. And whether you just can see part of it or catch the whole thing, I'm happy you're here. As I do usually invite people, if you want to just look through the show, just putting me on mute and seeing what you can find and the things I'm going to show, that's one fun way to work the show. Otherwise, just leave the audio on and I'll walk you through each slide and point out things that I've noted of extreme interest. Looking around at the skies above me in Miami, usually this time the whole show is going to be looking at the skies above in Miami. Sometimes I do travel around and I'll just catch whatever I can find wherever I am. And I also occasionally will kind of showcase and highlight some photos sent in by others, which they're always appreciated. So here we go. This is just looking east toward the evening, and what caught my attention was mainly here at C and D. Look at these vertical, I'm going to call it cloud in quotes. When I say that, I'm referring to something that I'm suspecting is like some type of cloaking material for cloaking craft. And if you're new, do take a look at some of my earlier shows to see what I'm talking about, why I'm here, and why I'm doing this. Otherwise, you'll kind of catch on as I move through the show. Now, the cloaking material I'm referring to is just going to be my go-to word for it. It's going to be plasma. I'm simply referring to something denser and heavier than water vapor that can hang around in the sky much longer and cling and do well to cover and otherwise hide craft. Now, with that, you can also just call it artificial cloud or artificial cloud material, whatever you want to call it. But one thing for sure, our typical clouds do not do this. They're even parallel to each other, these two lines at C and D. Then I started to pick up a sky imprint of, look at this, something looking a little triangular. Maybe it's a part of a bigger shape that is not, but just starting to look that way, look like that here. So there's enough going on in here, plus this kind of darker shadowy figure in the back to make me want to put this on some enhancement. And when I say I'm enhancing the photo, I'm just taking the original and I'm just editing attributes of the photo, such as color saturation, brightness, and contrast, maybe some color temperature, and that is it. Maybe very rarely some sharpness on the photo. And I do that just to draw out and better highlight some things that might be going on. In this case, when I do this, look how much better I backlight these two things. Again, what is this? It's some type of artificial cloud material. I'm going to call it plasma, like as in cloaking craft. And then we look up here and that shadowy figure, starts to pop out a little bit more. And this imprint pops out a little bit more with also kind of curious shape happening in here. So also something really strange is happening up in here, down in this corner. There's a lot of strange activity going on. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you. I'm going to toggle back and forth when I go back up. When I see this figure, it's starting to look like a very elongated triangular form that's symmetrical. Looks like it has an intelligent design to it. Now, maybe I'm not seeing the whole picture. Maybe this thing is actually enormous. It's hard to say sometimes because of all of the cloaking and the cloud and the artificial stuff in the sky. Makes it really hard to see detail on some of this stuff. But here we go again. Watch 8.1 for right now. That's what I'm seeing. So there we go. If you study, especially the back end of this thing, I'm just kind of giving you an idea. Look at, we have like a scalloped thing here. And there we go. Anyway, see what you can see when you look at this a little more in your own time. I'm going to go back up. Let's look at B.2 for a second. So that again, I'm going to head back. It's over here. Okay, B.2 just means we're looking at it a little bit further. So here's with some more enhancement on it now. What gets really interesting is, we start to see like a tube, like a cylindrical type shape, also like in the background here. Also maybe see the edge of a pipe here. But no matter what, we see interesting color signatures. Even up here at BB, it's starting to look like a pointed, like a shape of a triangular form or something going on in the background. Anyway, do look and take note at all of these sides as I go through it, the different color signatures. I rarely get like this greenish color, so when I do, I really pay attention. And look, right next to it, it's anything but green. So what's going on here locally? A lot of these too, I'm just maybe dropping a lot more questions than I have answers for as well. I'll answer them when I can, or just at least let you know what I'm seeing, but see what you see as always. Now we're going to zoom in on these parallel lines portion. Just really bizarre looking, even to the naked eye. And then we will put the enhancement. Again, we get this like, where's this burst of light coming from? Because we're looking to the east at already sunset, or nearing sunset. So there should not be a local surge of brightness right here, and yet there is. Also take a note of this triangular form here. A lot of weird little shapes happening. So no matter what, this is not normal clouds. Okay, now this is looking east, and it just seemed to be a lot of turbulent activity happening in here. Stuff that started to swirl and have specific forms to it. So we're going to keep looking, and look at this one with some enhancement. We almost see like pipes projecting toward us, or they look very bone-like, like the edge of some ribs, baby back ribs or something, like the bone part, and that would be the meat. It's really strange. And then here we get a totally different color temperature. It's much warmer here, backlighting this particular element compared to everything else surrounding it. And what's this piece? Looks like a very rigid design piece in here. And these two things look like the ends of tubes of some type or jets. Very, very odd. There's a lot that's very odd going on in the scene, even when you look down here at this shape connected here. And as I always comment on my other shows, whenever you have a cloud form, in this case, no clouds pitch on angle down like this, and this is going on a totally different angle. Look at this thing. It could be an overall elongated triangular form on angle. This one looks like a triangular form on angle. But, you have these are slightly at different angles to each other, and then this thing like coming in, not perpendicular, but close in on that object. I'm calling it a cloaking object because that just doesn't happen with a natural cloud formation. Not in this area. I'm in subtropical to tropical Florida. This just doesn't happen in our skies, until recently we're finding these weird things going on. And look at this kind of stair-step cutout. Like if you just look at the profile of this shape above it, look at it's a stepped form, perfectly straight, coming in an angle. And again, that just does not happen with natural clouds. So that leads me to suspect there's got to be some type of intelligent design going on in here to do that. Now let's keep moving. So we're going to zoom in on it a little bit, and I'm just playing with the enhancement in different ways with the different levels of contrast and brightness, just to maybe look at this whole thing in a little bit of a different way when I do that. And again, we have these mysterious things. These are very well formed. Again, they look like the edges, the ends of jets or something, and another round form here. Just really bizarre activity going on. See what else you can find in this scene. We're going to look at it one more time. It gets real bitmappy on a bigger screen. So if you are like on the size of a laptop or bigger, you might just squint your eyes to see things better. If you're on a handheld device, you'll be able to see things much clearer. But look at this thing. What's this weird little pipe thing doing here? And again, these three elements, I just have to wonder what is going on here. And then look at this. We've got almost a perfect right angle, happening here. So again, it's just such an odd collection of things that just don't belong in the sky. It's got to be some type of organized and engineered design activity going on up there. All right, now this gets really weird looking to the southwest, also around 6:20 p.m. The sky texture of all of this stuff, that's no natural clouds I've ever seen. And I'm basing my experience on living on this planet for decades, also traveling and living in other parts of the world, and really noticing the skies and surroundings wherever I go. What's interesting here, though, what caught my attention was at B, I start to see a sky imprint. Look at this very clear-cut, strong edge here of a triangular form. And then I started to see an elliptical form up here as well, the outer tracings of it. So we look to the right, you can see that ring forming that ellipse a little bit clearer on the right-hand side. And then here we have that clear evidence of that triangular form. We have some shadowy spherical thing going on here too. There's a lot of very interesting things happening here. This also looks like a triangular form that we're seeing here, kind of overlapping with this one or underlapping. A lot of weird stuff going on here. Hard to tell what's really going on. Now we look over to let's see, toward the west of what we were just looking at. And here we go again. On the left-hand side, we see it's clearly sculpted, kind of elliptical form, an imprint of it, with a triangular form floating in front of it, actually, out of this quote-unquote cloud material. And what the heck is happening here at A? We get this big, incised, like U form out of all of this. So that's just, again, no way is that natural cloud activity. We look to the right to see it a little better, and look what's here going on here. We get interesting color signatures with the gold. Note where it's popping up and where it is not. It's all very, very strange. See what else you can find in that scene. We're going to zoom in a little bit more on that U portion at the top with this notch out with this triangular cloud, quote-unquote cloud. And then we look to the right, and we just see all kinds of strange stuff. The more you look, the more you're going to find. So I'm going to leave this to you to have at it at your leisure and really look in there and see what you can see. Okay, now this got very strange. I was looking up and a little to the west, again toward the evening, and I noticed these bands, these shadowy bands happening in the sky. Now I have seen them like at B. If you look to the right, you can see there's clearly a split. Something's going on. And to the naked eye, it is like darker. Now this was spanning all the way across over my head, going from west and back over me to the east. And I know other people have captured this as well. Do go look at other Earth and Sky watching channels. I encourage you to do that, especially on YouTube. You can tell who's genuine. A lot of genuine people out there just recording what they're seeing and how strange it's all getting. In this case, other people have noticed these kind of darker bands appearing. Usually there's a plane spraying chemical trails, to kind of close the gap, if you will. And then they spread out so you can't really see these lines anymore. But I was observing this one, and it really stayed put for quite a while. What is that exactly? Some people are saying it's a little split in the matrix, a little glitch in the matrix. I'm not really sure what it is, but I've seen them quite a bit. And it tells me something's going up in our skies above. I have not seen that. And again, I observe things keenly when I was much smaller through all my years till now. And this stuff has just started to appear. I would say, especially, I only started noticing things like this back in 2018. But I think people have been noticing it even as early as like 2010, 2012. Anyway, a lot of other strange stuff is happening up in this scene. There's actually a very perfectly round circle here. It looks like it dives in like it's the end of a pipe or something. So I suspect there is some type of cloak and craft and activity happening all up in here. Anyway, see what you see. Okay, now we're going to be looking up. Let's see, are we looking? Sorry, I didn't edit this. Now we're looking up, yes, but now we're looking to the east, not west, so just ignore that at the bottom. But anyway, looking here, mainly at A and B, this started to become a very weird type of quote-unquote cloud, seeming very artificial, the way it's very smoky and, hazy and kind of very diffuse. While the stuff down here is a little more organized, but still not like typical clouds I've ever seen on this planet for a long, long time. Ever, really. These are not typical cumulus clouds or anything that you could point your finger at in a book categorizing clouds in the past. Anyway, we look to the right, and so with enhancement, look at this. You can just see how A1 and B1 are two or one continuous, very different animal. then everything else going down below this. And look how we have a diagonal, and all of this is doing its own thing, and even these pieces are coming in. Again, what did I say about things coming in perpendicular to each other? That just doesn't happen with clouds. Got these very straight parallel lines to each other. That also wouldn't happen while this thing's coming up this way in the opposite direction. Just would not happen unless there's some type of intelligence back in and behind all of this stuff. There's something very strange happening here at C.1. A lot of high strangeness all over the place, even where I have the C.1 label. This actually looks kind of like a boomerang or dart shape or like batwing shape thing going on. If you can follow my cursor, like one edge here, a bar across, another edge here. It looks like a very symmetrical element kind of just hiding there in the cloud. Again, sorry if you hear animated voices in the background. They're really not excited about this slide. They're just having fun at a party. All right, we're going to look in a little more detail too now, looking to the east. I saw all of these clouds coming toward me actually from down the street. And look at this one. This like T-bar type thing completely grabbed my attention. There's no way a natural cloud could possibly form like in the letter T. We're going to look to the right with enhancement. You can see it a little bit better what I'm talking about. What the heck is this thing? It is not a natural cloud. And even to the extent that on the left side here, that is even a triangular form, looks like it's just docked into this bar of whatever that thing is. And here again are these two weird clouds, quote-unquote clouds, on an angle going perpendicular to this thing. There looks like a dark hole, some kind of object hiding back in here that's circular. So my goodness, or my gosh, or my God, something is really going on here. And it has like Cloak and Craft written all over it, especially C.1. Looks like something like in a more capsule shape. Anyway, see what you can see in this scene. It's truly bizarre. So now we're going to zoom in, of course, on this like T-bar shape thing. We look to the right. Here you go. If you follow my cursor, there's that triangle and angle. Look at how sharp these lines are, how straight they are. So that's very much a triangle hanging on whatever this thing is. And so we're going to zoom in a little bit more and still apply some of the enhancement to this photo to see if we can get any more clearer detail. Some of these things are so fuzzy just by nature and by how they're cloaking. It's hard to get to certain, even more really specific detail, but we'll do our best. And then look at F.3 up here. This is clearly some kind of object, with cloaking material around it. We go back over here, it just looks like a big fuzz out. But sometimes you can just sense that things are going on, and I did up in here. But especially, thank goodness for these wonderful tools that we have to get at this stuff. Through the digital cameras and through digital technology, and we have a vaster range of the photo and light sensitivities going on, so we can see these things with a little help with the technology. All right, now we're going to go in on this a little bit further, so I'm zooming in, playing around with some of the levels of the contrast and brightness and color saturation, and look what we get. So here, let's see, I'm going to go back here. So I'm zooming in on this portion here so you can see the triangular form, and we're going to look at these weird little objects on this thing. So here we go, here's the triangular form. It's very clear. I can overlay a clean line over it. And then this one starts to be a strange kind of diamond form. And I have a question mark here. What is going on where my cursor is? This is like a half pipe shape. There's something weird happening here too. Also symmetrically, there seems to be some type of engineered elements on this thing. What's going on down through the body of this thing, I can't tell you, but it's really weird. Looks like cloaking material is tufting up around the edges of this thing too. And the way it's all disturbed tells me there's some type of power source here that's disturbing the local atmosphere. Sometimes I think it's just whatever's power generating these cloak and craft, or it could just be that by virtue that this thing is really hot and it's creating like a mirage-like effect in the atmosphere. See what you think. When I look at some of these things and the atmosphere around it's getting really choppy and fuzzy, I call it staccato effect or staccato cloud effect. But in this case, it just looks like the plasma clinging to this thing is getting all disturbed. So see what you see in this scene. Okay, this one we're looking east, and again toward the evening, 6:30, and I at sea see a very clear imprint, making a very pointed, clear point of a triangular form. But at the same time, it's kind of like a onion, upside down onion or beet type shape. We've got like this curved shape with this little I don't want like little nib at the end of it, and then even above here we have a pointed ellipse shape. So this whole sequence gets really bizarre. So we look to the right with enhancement, and I still am getting this very clear shape at C.1, this very clear beet or turnip shape here at B.1, and then look at here, we have that pointed ellipse effect, and what the heck is going on toward the tip of A.1? I don't know, is this one larger craft that's hidden behind all this smoke and mirrors here? Or these multiple, very different craft happening back in there? I'm not sure, but I can tell you that this has intelligent form, has symmetry, geometry to it. Therefore, it's not just like a little puffy white cumulus cloud of days of yore, going by in the sky. All right, now this gets really interesting. This was the alternate cover slide before I enhanced it. And again, it's like something dove down and created a swath. Look at this swath, this path created in the sky where like the seas part, so to speak, of a cloud on this side, cloud on this side, with a path moving right down into this shape, which again looks symmetrical. And then at sea, this starts to get really weird because it looks like we're looking at the edges of like rockets, or like you see the turbines with the little turbine piece and like the fan in there. This looks absolutely like we're staring right at the back of a craft and looking at the engine work, or the exhaust or whatever you want to call it. So here we go. Look at this. With enhancement, again, we got this like blazed trail coming in to whatever this object is. We got a perfectly round shape here, like at the edge, the profile here at f.1. That's also not normal in a cloud. We've got weird stuff happening too. This looks like a triangular form. And again, look at C.1. You can imagine this is the back of a craft. Look how straight this line is, and it curves here. And this really looks like we're looking at the back of some rockets, like turbine engines. And then what's going on in here too? We've got like an incised triangle happening around here with texture, something else going on here. I'm going to leave this one to you again, just see what you can see. The more you have a look at it, the more you're going to find. This one we're going to zoom in now, right over here at the C.1 area. So here we go. Look at this. It really looks symmetrical. Look at these are two semicircular, objects right here. See the form? Follow my cursor. I'm going to say that is some type of engine work and some type of craft. All right, this is now looking to, let me get my bearings here. I'm saying north, and actually this is a panorama, half panorama, so my apologies once again. North is present, but to the right here is heading to the north, and to the left is heading toward the south. So that's what we're looking at. So the bottom is just nothing done. The top is the enhanced version. It just felt weird. There's a lot of choppy activity happening here, especially over here to the right. And the colors, just the way the lighting was coming up through the backlighting, was just really strange too. So with the enhanced version above, we do see an interesting color pattern, color signature pattern happening to tell me there is stuff going on up here. But it wasn't like totally clear cut. But we're going to zoom in on some areas of this to see if we can see anything better. And now this area did start to exhibit some things with structure. So this thing looks like an arrowhead moving off to the left. You'll see it better in the next slide coming up. And then this just had the way that the light was illuminating behind here was really strange, because really all the focus of light should be down here where my cursor is toward the sunset. And then up here it looked like something very organized going on where my question marks are. So we look at it with enhancement, and here we go. Look at this whole area. It's disturbed in a specific way that tells me there's cloaking craft going on up in there. Remember, like I talked previously about, there's a certain way the clouds get all disturbed locally that tells me craft is hiding up there, and that's the byproduct of their power source, or it's just by virtue of whatever heat is coming off of whatever craft, or it could be deliberate signals being sent out, frequencies to disturb the local air to help craft, cloak the craft, sorry. And here we go, B.3. Here's kind of the fanned out bottom edge of a triangular form I suspect is zooming off this way. And again, how do you have movement going off at an angle this way when everything else is doing its own thing in a very different direction, in a different way? And this one going off in the opposite way here. And this isn't even a cloud form. Nothing forms like a triangular, inverted triangular shape, like a fan or a wedge like this thing is doing, unless it's artificial. All right, now we're going to look north. This is north. And the bottom is the original, and the top is the highlighted version, or the enhanced version, highlighting certain aspects of the photo, rather. And here we go. What caught my attention on the bottom was just how strange the patterning was on this, and also it was moving in an arc. Now, the arc here is a little more exaggerated than to the naked eye, just because I did kind of do a pseudo panorama, and sometimes it distorts things a bit. But this thing very much was moving across the sky and has a very strange patterning to it. Again, not a typical cloud. And on top of it, we start to see a pointed elliptical form starting and one kind of echoing in the middle of this thing, while to the right is a totally different kind of quote-unquote cloud. So the whole scene was really bizarre. We're going to zoom in on one of those little fins of that arc, and it's just looking really weird. And look how this echoes each other. It's parallel. This would not be a natural cloud formation either. So it tells me there's got to be something kind of hiding in here. See how perfect? These are parallel to each other and have a straight edge. And I'm not sure what's happening in here, but I thought it would be worthwhile just to zoom in and do this. And look at, once again, watch my cursor, we have a perpendicular situation. So again, that means we've got something engineered going on in here. Okay, now we're going to look at another scene. Sorry, I'm getting a little distracted with the wild party activity in the background. Hopefully they're not cussing or anything or swearing. If so, just put your earmuffs on. But anyway, here we go. Now we're looking south-southeast, and this started to look really strange at B. We have this kind of more axial thing moving here with this like loop-to-loop on either side of it moving, to either side of this line. Then we got all kinds of strange stuff. This has a slightly pink tone to it. This is more white. We have something moving down on angle like this, while this is doing something totally different at C, so you better believe it. We got some enhanced version on this to see what's going on. So again, look at the color variation from, what's this burst of light happening here? We're looking south-southeast. We're not looking to the west. This is well after like sunset. Sun's going down now. So why is it bursting up in here? And to me, again, it's because there's local craft or some type of local activity of some kind of phenomenon happening in the sky. 8.1 could never be confused with the typical cloud, nor B.1. And again, why are we having all these different movements, that totally don't relate to each other? And then what's going on at C.1 with this mess over here? And then look at this weird thing showing up now. We got this different coloration with some, it looks very interdimensional to me, going off to the right. So there's a lot going on. The more you look, I see a point here, like an imprint of like a elliptical form, point like a lemon-shaped thing. I'm going to leave this once again to all of you. Just examine this a little bit more in your own time, see what else you can find. D.1 is looking like a craft to me. There's a point here. It's symmetrical, like two arms. So whether that's the front of the craft or the back, I don't know. But definitely doesn't look like a natural cloud either. Okay, talk about not looking like natural cloud. Look at this. So here we've got that angled thing that's brightly illuminated, nowhere near where the sunset is. But look what's happening here now. It's like a downturned triangular form with a ball on the end of it and these weird tracks coming down. So yeah, we're going to look at this with enhancement. I do extreme enhancement on this one just to really see what are we getting at. What's the heart of this thing. So you see the black areas are where we have more solid mass. So once again, why is something doing its own thing on this angle with something trailing or tethered to it? Is this some type of craft tethered to a bigger craft back here where this dark mass is? And then what is this doing? It's going off on its own, or is this part of a bigger craft that just has cloaking material, all this white stuff like wafting in front of it? Maybe all of this too is just part of one bigger craft and we're just seeing interference of cloaking material in front of it. I don't know, but see what you think. And we're going to come in on that one weird little thing, that one round object, straight thing. It really does look like a separate thing, almost like a lure in the ocean coming off of a trawler off of the back of a ship or a boat, if you think about it, kind of doing its own thing out here and tethered to something more solid. Jury's out on this one for me, but the color signatures, are all different all over the place too. That tells me that there's cloak and craft just based on the many years I've been looking at this stuff now. But see what you think. Okay, now we're going to get to this scene. And it's toward the evening once again, and just weird, misty-like stuff. Look at this. It's almost like a trail is moving up to this thing, and then this thing levels out straight. Look at A. That's an actual dish. It looks like a radar dish, a concave dish. It looks like very clean and round. Look to the right up here. Look at that. It's like a dish, a convex, yeah, like a concave dish. And with a little point there at the center. So that's very clear to me. So that's could be like a radar, could be pulsing out sound, I don't know. But look at all this weird mist happening at the top as well. It's just all very bizarre. So we're going to take another look at this. I also see the end of a pipe here the more I look. You got to really run this up, I think, on a bigger screen to see a little more of the detail. I am narrating the show, by the way, on a laptop screen. I know I say it every time. Bear with me if you're returning. But I got to cover in case new people are coming along as well. And again, welcome to everyone, regardless at your stage of following my channel. So anyway, if you look at it at a bigger screen like I'm doing on a laptop, you start to see even more circular ends of pipes and things. If you ideally have a laptop screen and a handheld device that's smaller at your disposal, just put like one over the other and toggle your vision up and down between the two. And as I go over the show, you're going to see totally different levels of information when it's either at a bigger laptop screen size or whether it's like shrunken down to a thumbnail. You see two very different things happening. So it helps inform you, all at once. Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Yeah, as I always say, if I narrated this just looking at like a thumbnail size or very small format like on a phone, this show would probably be narrated very differently, or at least a little bit differently. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go back up one. So here we're focusing on what the heck is going on at A. We clearly see that round shape. And now the next one, we're going to see enhance the photo so we can pull out what more is going on at B and C. So here we go. So now I'm losing that little round piece because of the way I'm enhancing. I got to get down to this information below, and look at this. A whole nother world of information starts to pop up. What's this hole and this kind of rectangular tag-like piece with this pointed elliptical shape? What the heck is this thing? And what's going on in here? And why is there this fuzz out, blur out, very dreamlike happening in front? What the heck? And then this thing still looks like a craft to me with intelligent design and holes in there and all that stuff. See what you see. Okay, then we're going to zoom in just on, let me go back. We're going to zoom in just on this piece where I saw like that radar dish looking thing. And here we go. That's like that hole cut out. And that looks like the oblique view, the side view kind of another pipe happening over here. Again, you may need to squint your eyes if you have this on a bigger screen. And here's that radar dish looking thing again. A little bit of a tracing of a hole over here. And look at the color signature. We get a burst of white light in there. We get even green happening here. So some kind of energy burst is going on up in here for sure. So I'm going to say it, Cloak and Craft. You'll get tired of me hearing it. You'll probably get tired of hearing me say it, but I'm going to say it. Cloak and Craft in the skies. That's what we're dealing with. So here's an interesting scene too. Looking south, look at all this craziness because this is going up on an angle. That's a triangular form. All this stuff's coming straight across with these peaks. Look at that. Geometry city galore. Look at all of these triangular forms. And then we got something weird arcing up out of this thing. We have something dark looming back up in here. So, but primarily what I want you to see, oh, and you know what? I'm sorry, my apologies once again. I did not edit all of these titles totally correctly. This is actually looking north. Wait a minute. Nope, I got it right. Looking south. Okay, what do you know? This is looking south. So look at this thing right here. What really caught my attention is look how this swoosh, this thing it looks like something like ejected out of this thing and is like skyrocketing up and out. So we're going to definitely take a look at B with enhancement. You better believe that. So here we go. Look at all this reddish signature I'm getting. I don't always get that. So it's stands out quite a bit when that happens. And it tells me there is something of energetics going on in this scene. And also look at my description box below to see what could be causing the red-pink color in the skies these days lately. So look at this. Here we go. I mean, this doesn't get any clearer. This is a symmetrical kind of object, and this thing is like, propelling or jettisoning off this thing. Look at this. Bam. This looks like the end of a tube. It's a very specific object. So very intriguing. Also looks like we have a darker object kind of hiding back in here. But again, this is one, just the more you look, the more you're going to see. I'm going to zoom in on this again because I just found it so fascinating. And I like to take all color out of the photos sometimes, just have them in a black, white, or grayscale, just to kind of get our eye to brain connection moving a little bit differently, seeing things in a different way. Sometimes it's also helpful to put a mirror on the image and just to really get your brain moving around to see things that you might not have seen before in any given scene or picture or image. So in this case, we have that form, which I think we're looking at a craft. I think this is like a little side arm of it, like a wing, and that would be like the front, and maybe that's like the little cockpit, that's the back. And then this just looks like something is flying off of it. But look at this thing. It's got a clear shape. It's got a hard edge. It's got like I don't know, it's got a symmetry to it. Is this coming off of this little ship, I'll call it, or is this something just happens to be flying off in the background and this is in the foreground? I don't know. What do you think is happening there? All right, now we're going to look to the southeast to the northwest, kind of another one of these weird panoramas. And this is actually west is to the left side and east is to the right-hand side. So we're kind of primarily looking to the north-ish, I'll say. And look at this. We've got a hard edge, like a circular form in the back there, a very clean line. I'm just going to spend all my time on the enhanced version. Feel free to look down here below. But what caught my attention actually on the original photo was we have something arcing this way and then the movement also going this way and kind of straight up. There was just a lot of strange stuff happening. Plus, it just felt weird. Plus, toward the west, it was like a burnout white, and yet to the east, it was reddish, so that made no sense. And so here we go. This is why we got something really strange happening all in here, which I'm going to call deliberate camouflage of objects of craft. Look at here. Look at all this tight texture. We never see that in the skies. So again, to me, that is locally disturbed, like isolated, disturbed atmosphere. So something is generating frequency or movement or heat to create this effect and patterning in the sky is what I'm going to say. Now add to it a supernatural effect. So look at this in here. If you follow my cursor, see these bands? That's a really kind of otherworldly cyan to like white light, very ethereal looking light. It just feels very magical, very otherworldly. So maybe we're even dealing with some kind of supernatural phenomenon on top of all of this, or that's the effects of some other interdimensional craft coming in on the scene. See what you think. Okay, this one gets really interesting looking northwest. Aside from this gorgeous lavenders and pinks in the sky, there were some weird little cut-throughs or smoky traces, so I wanted to see what was going on. So we look to the right. Once again, I'm removing all the colors so we don't, only like pigeonhole look at this or tunnel vision look at it in one way only, one perspective. Now that it's black, white, and grayscale, we might start to see other things like energetic burn spots. Look at this. What the heck is going on? And these things are like these smoky looking clouds. But why is one going this way and one's coming diving down in an opposite way? And what the heck is going here where things trail off? A lot of questions here. A lot of suspected craft activity happening in there, cloaking craft. All right, now this gets interesting. Now we're going to look to the north, and I do zoom out a bit so you can see what I'm seeing. But I notice a big long streak happening in the sky, this reddish beautiful color. But then I notice this very dark tracing of some type of cloud material showing up and a thin line. And I thought, let me watch this for a while, because in the past I've noticed how sometimes these things emerge and then they start growing and forming in specific shapes. And that's exactly what happened with this one too. So 8.1 is just this raw, this really thin line, but it really felt like something else and bigger was going to start to emerge. So here I'm zoomed out. So this is what I started observing. Sorry, it's a little fuzzy. It was hard for my camera to totally focus when it was getting dim after 8 p.m. But look at this. This was that thin line, and then I noticed, it is starting to grow into a shape that looks like a craft. And then, so again, here it is, a little bit of fuzz, and it's clearly its own little object forming now. And then I zoom in, and that thin little line starts expanding and growing, and again starting to form a little bit more and more. So I kept watching it, and this is what I was suspecting was happening. We're getting the makings of a craft, and we're seeing it emerge. Here we are. That one little thin line is now becoming more developed. We look to the right. Look how developed this thing is. That is some type of craft, or we're seeing part of a bigger craft. Maybe this is just like the command deck of a bigger craft that's hiding under here. That's also possible. Or this is a standalone craft. But you can't deny that this has total engineered pieces. We've got a straight line with shadow. We've got these little round pieces that are perfectly round with shadow. Anyway, we're going to zoom in, I think, a little bit more. Yes, we are. So look at this. Again, is this a standalone craft, or this just we're seeing the top of one that's hiding behind thick cloaking material? But here we go. Look at this. It's a pure form. And we have shadow. We have, these look like regularized detail, like holes, coming off the back of this thing, or whatever side of this thing it is. And then look here. We have a perfect triangular form starting to develop. And, it was just a beautiful scene overall when we've got the, range of colors with the pinks and raspberries and reds and indigos and purples and cyan and white. Really, really pretty, regardless. Okay, now this is the night of the full lunar eclipse in Scorpio, the blood moon they call it. And this is when I came out to see our beautiful eclipse starting, and this is what I was met with. So very suspect here. I'm very suspect at what this is. So that's not any natural cloud, first of all. Absolutely felt like a deliberate haze and smoke out, so I could not see the moon, which should be around here somewhere. And it also had kind of a greenish hue. And again, this is at night, but even the camera could pick up that whatever's happening here is different than the cloud material happening all around it. So of course we're looking at it with some enhancement. Look at that same scene. I get this pulse of, it looks like a heart shape, in green. Well, we've got indigos and warm tones around. So what the heck is that? Again, I'll go back. That shape we're looking at is right here. So I have not changed the scale. So that little curve that would be the heart's right there, and it goes to a point. So what the heck is hiding in there? Very good question. Let's keep moving along. Now I'm panning somewhere a little bit different too, and I notice this really strange cloud, quote unquote cloud. Look at this shape. Look at it again. We get even to the naked eye, it felt a little greenish. So look to the right. What's going on in this scene? Why is it in the sky, in the proximity, in front of the moon? These are all questions I'm going to lay out. I mean, look at this. This is a deliberate, symmetrical form, I'm not sure if this is all one big scene or there's something even bigger happening beyond it, or if this is just one little element and this is like a ring of, I don't know, some kind of portal it came out of or wants to go back into. See what you see in that scene. But look at the extraordinary, we got these blue indigos and then the greens, and this looks like a pure hole or the end of a pipe right here. See what you see. Okay, now at long last, we get to the eclipse. So there was a ton of cloud cover the whole night. It wasn't even funny. It was always right in front of where the visibility of the moon, would be. And so I got to believe that's definitely engineered cloud. Now, is it done by military, by human, people, or is it done by something ET based or collaboration, a little bit of everything? I have no idea, but for sure, I mean, it was beyond uncanny how the clouds would just be over where the moon would be. And look at this thing anyway. Look at the shape of this rectangular form. This straight line, straight line, straight line. I mean, that's no natural cloud shape. This even looks like a triangle off at the end. And I want to step back a moment, and I want to give full credit to Anonymous, who sent this into the Lavender Sky Panther channel. And I was out witnessing a similar view, so I can vouch for Anonymous's photos. Absolutely legit, and I'm very appreciative. And also, look what's going on here. This is something a little strange happening too in front of this cloud, quote-unquote cloud form. A lot of weirdness, high strangeness going on, but at least you could with the naked eye see and detect the reddish color and a beautiful, you could see the luminescence of wherever the light was supposed to be hitting this thing on the eclipse. It was really beautiful, and I was happy to actually finally see one that wasn't in total cloud cover the entire time. But it actually took waiting like 3 hours just to get that previous, view because of all the cloud cover. Now we're going to look at more strange cloud activity, obviously the next morning. And we're looking west-southwest. And again, this was just a weird, feel to this quote-unquote cloud. It's moving in different directions. Different shapes are wanting to form out of this thing. Kind of something looks like it's in shadow or sky imprint. And then we got like a hole over here. So we look to the right. So with enhancement, look at we see, that hole over here. And then what the heck is going on? We have like a triangular form and angle with like a little bridge and another triangular form plus another triangular form diving down this way. I gotta say that's cloak and craft in there. Okay, now we're looking too in this weird patterning, which did not feel natural at all for this area, no way. And this got really weird. So not only do I start to see a shadowy figure or, maybe it's a hole leading somewhere, but look at this roundish, look at all these circles. These are actual circles. And so we look to the right with enhancement and they get even clearer. What the heck is this? That's not natural cloud. That is designed forms that look very metallic. It looks like we're looking at the end of pipes. And then what this is, I don't know, but it also looks like some type of cloak and craft. We have a pipe with something like a trail coming behind it. This is a symmetrical form. It looks like one wing here with like a little middle piece and another wing form here. These two little sticks are absolutely parallel to each other. So this tells me we might be seeing the bottom of a craft that's kind of tilted up. We're looking at the bottom of it, and maybe we're just kind of seeing it, tipped up a little and getting a look at the bottom is what I think is happening, but see what you see. And I also think this little trail means that this whole thing is either tethered to a bigger ship or could have dropped down from somewhere, and that's the vapor trail or something. But see what you see in this whole thing. And at the same time, who knows, maybe this is just a hole and is sitting in a part of a much bigger craft. Again, kind of have a look at this and see what you can find. We're going to zoom in on this, taking all color out just to look at it one more time, I think. And look how clear. These are absolute rigid pipes. Look at this. There's no way to say that is not man-made or ET made or made by some type of intelligence. Look at that thing. All right, we're going to move on. Okay, now this gets weird too. A lot of weirdness, high strangeness happening here. Mainly I saw this down here at sea, so I wanted to look at it with enhancement. And sure enough, look at this. This is some perfectly rounded form with a very straight edge. Has to be part of some type of cloak and craft. B.1 has got like a rim around, like the end of a pipe. It's a perfect ellipse. And what the heck is going on in 8.1? And beyond all of this, I can't tell you other than, look here, we have an imprint. We've got a triangular form once again with like maybe, looks like a little arrow, like a short little arrow, and then the bigger arrowhead going up. See what you see in this scene. It is truly bizarre. Okay, now we're going to zoom in on that weird little piece, and look at that. That's no natural imprint made by clouds moving along naturally. That's like cut out or an object hiding there. Okay, now we're looking east, and this is in the morning. What was strange was the time in the morning and where the light should be and where it shouldn't be. So daylight. So we got around 8:15 in the morning, and the light should be back in here, but there shouldn't be a bright burst up over here. No way. And there are little weird bursts happening like at regular intervals along here. So I suspect in cloak and craft up here and also over here. So we look at that with enhancement, and this is what we get. So the areas where I suspected craft activity, we do have color signatures, different things, warmer color signatures where they really just shouldn't be. And then D1 is where there should be, the light happening here. So I'm going to say there's absolutely cloak and craft going on up here. And look at, we got like a echoing shape, like with a peak to it, like the tip of a triangle, tip of a triangle. And again, it kind of came across in a regular pattern. So I'm absolutely saying we're dealing with cloak and craft once again. No surprise on this channel. This was quite a surprise, however. Looking off, was getting some gas at a gas station, looking off to the west, and what the heck? Look at these things. They were diving down so low in the atmosphere, in the sky. Look at it. I mean, the tops of the trees are here. These are a little bit further back, so of course they're higher than this, but they were extremely low in the sky and had such specific shapes. They're almost like saying, hey, look at over here, you can't miss us. There's a perfect circle here and a smoke ring, so to speak. What are these weird things diving down? There's a lot of weird, what I'm going to say, blurry activity, shaky activity here, which tells me there's stuff cloaking. This almost takes on a triangular form, just a lot of high strangeness, as they say. So here we are with some enhancements, and that's a pure circle still popping up at 8.1. What the heck is going on here? Why is it all blurry and fuzzy? Why are these things kind of radial, moving at different angles, and then these are coming across straight? Again, you can't have this motion and this motion side by side and call that natural cloud activity. It just doesn't happen. And then what the heck is hiding back in here? So I start to see bits and pieces that could be machine parts with reflection on them happening in here. As I always say, I would love to see all the smoke blow off of these things and see what we're really dealing with. And I know you should watch what you wish for, but I mean, I think it's time. Especially this is show number, 154? I think it's time. Anyway, here's that little ring piece I was looking at, going back up here at 8.1. Kind of standalone thing. And look at it, it's a perfect circle with a stick, coming right up to it. So again, not sure what's going on, but you might have a better idea. Have a look on your own time. Now we're looking to the north, and I start to see a shape of a sphere, a partial look at a sphere. We have a very clear line and sizing around it. We've got weird stuff happening up here. So to the right, we look with an enhancement. I don't know what's going on the upper right, but I do sense something is cloaking up in there. We look at 8.1. We got a solid object looking here. There's another solid object behind B.1 with cloaking material over it. Looks like a triangular form with cloaking material over it on the back side of this thing. And look at how they're all kind of like daisy chain linked up to each other. And then we have some other weird thing happening down here, and this thing going off at its own angle. So to me, this is kind of like a landing pad or some kind of craft, and that this thing is just kind of shooting up off of it. See what you think, though. We're going to come in on that sphere a little bit more. So again, to the naked eye, it also takes kind of watching this stuff. It just emerges out of nowhere and starts to develop a little bit more for like a couple of seconds, and then it might morph yet again. So you got to have a keen eye and watch things, really observe for a little bit. And here it is. And, with enhancement, it also just pulls everything out. Look at this. Looks like this arc happening here looks like a ship, because this looks like metallic material with little holes, textures going on in there. And this is a very specific form right here where my cursor is. And later we're going to see something else that looks like a highly developed craft that's cloaking. Weird stuff happening in here too. See what you can see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on that spherical thing again. Squint your eyes if you're on a bigger screen. But look at these stripes. These are all kind of parallel in motion. Again, would not happen locally in the sky like this if it were natural. And then again, we got a very direct curve, very clean curve coming off of this thing. So I gotta think that's a cloak and craft for sure. And then here we're going to look up and a little bit to the east, and look at, we had again this dark rift happening in the sky, and then, you know, just very weird activity happening around it to the point where this is more white and this is more pink and red, and some weird texture going on all over the place. And so we look to the right, and it's a little, again, fuzzy because it was late in the hour and my camera can only pick up so much. It gets a little grainy when it gets too late after 8. But anyway, look at this. Bright pink up here, yet not so much down here. And this weird squiggle. Look at this like weird S-like shape. What the heck is that going on down there? Weird texture all around. I don't really have any answers for this other than I know there's cloak and craft going on in there. It just seems almost too like an interdimensional overlay of many shapes. Like here's a triangular form. The more you look, you see like a pointed ellipse somewhere else. I don't know what this thing is doing either. It's just really bizarre. And this almost looks like a pipe, the end of a pipe down here. Very, very weird. See what you think is going on. But this one down here, D.1, is really mystifying. Why we have this like squiggle pattern. To the left-hand side, to the naked eye, you can barely make it out. It seems, you know, it's right here behind the D. And here it is. I moved the D over a little bit. Really, really strange. Okay, now we're going to look to the east. And I noticed this overall shape with weird patterning. And again, I've just observed the skies too much to know now. You know, this is a cloaking craft, and that's kind of its cloaking mechanism. This whole thing even looks like a circle. Like if you follow my cursor at B, this looks like the outline of a circle. And it actually reminds me of, what do they call it? Like a star button head security screw for like license plate frames. You know, it's a security screw where you have to have a certain kind of little bit to undo the screw. It's not Phillips and it's not slotted, and so it just helps. It's an anti-theft screw head. That's kind of what it's reminding me of. Anyway, we'll look at this with enhancement, but this whole overall object is moving off on this angle, and then once again we have these things moving straight along while we have weird texture happening up above. So what the heck is going on? Well, we look at this with enhancement, and look at, we've got these beautiful raspberry, deep raspberry colors. Oh, here's this, if you follow my cursor, that looks like a circle, top of our little security screw head here is what I'm seeing. But anyway, this is another one where we seem to have a lot of overlaying and underlaying of shapes. Look at this all over the place. So see what you see in here. This looks like two objects piggybacking each other. So we've got a pointed ellipse, pointed ellipse. Looks like a triangular form over here. See what you can find in that overall scene. I'm going to go back up a little. Hang on one second. So you can see here, look where I'm looking at B.1. And then that's the overall general shape that I see. It's not really scientific here with my sketch tools, just giving you a rough idea. Here, if you look at my cursor, I'm making that shape. So now we got this. I took all the color out, again, to help the eye to bring connection, kind of see all of this in a slightly different way and not to be distracted by the colors. But look at this. Look at that elliptical shape. And here's that weird little star security head screw. Tamper-resistant screws, when I want to say tamper-resistant head on the screw. But look at this. What are these lines doing? It's just really, really, really bizarre. And then we have almost like an interdimensional effect of like overlay, underlay, of like a triangular form maybe going on back there. Again, see what you see. And again, just to me, these are undeniable. A pointed ellipse and a pointed ellipse stacked on top of each other has got to be cloak and craft, docking one on top of the other. Okay, now we're going to look to the north, and this got really interesting. So look at the patterning of all of this. Look how it's frayed and disintegrated, kind of falling apart in places, but yet very specific here, like, you know, very angular. And then at the same time, this is right in the same vicinity down here at C, and this has a more graceful, kind of wistful, kind of curved line, you know, effect with some ripples and interesting texture happening. So all of this, to me, it also screams cloak and craft, especially C. So we're going to take a look, and hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. And so here we go at C.1 here now. We start to see this really looks like a cloak and craft because we've got this arc, you know, look at it, it's almost like a painting with a specific brush line, you know, and then here too. But yet in between, we have all of this texture. It's very specific, very engineered looking. very regularized, and again, not at all like a natural cloud in the sky. Up here at 8.1, we've got this split right between these two things, which again have very angular, very straight edges to them. So I gotta say there's gotta be some type of cloak and craft all in here. Then we got this little pop out of a very white element, and to me that's gotta be maybe a machine part of the cloak and craft happening in there. But see what you see as always. I'm going to take all color out again, you know my little trick by now. And once again, we just kind of look at this and look how intricate this is, but also very engineered, very machine-like that's looking. And then here we start to see little things pop out here and there. Again, I invite you to look at this on your own time. Look, we have two little sticks that are more or less parallel. Look very engineered in there as well. All right, now we're going to look to the west, and this form was kind of diving down, looked very suspect to me, and these two kind of maybe rising up. We look to the right-hand side, and look at this burst of reddish color, raspberry color, and then we got a triangular form at C, and then something very specific happening down here at D.1. To me, it looks like it has little pipes on it. No matter what, it just seems way too engineered to be a haphazard cloud moving across the sky. So yes, I'm calling that cloak and craft. And again, pay attention to the energy signatures. It's all white. We got a white out of an artificial sun effect in the background, but yet we have some warm tones happening in here. What is going on? Now we're going to look to the southwest toward 8 p.m. And again, I see a pointed elliptical shape here that caught my attention. I see this like reddish pink hue in the sky. Again, look at the description box below to see what could be causing that red-pink color in our sky. And then here we go. Does any of this make sense? I think the answer is no, as far as being some kind of natural system. I got a strong line marching through here, something moving up, a very clear triangular form, very clear at the top of B.1. Got this thing, kind of looks like it's flying off again, if like this is some kind of ship deck or something happening in here. Then we got weird objects, and look at the shapes of these things. Natural clouds don't do this. And then look at this. That's got to be some type of cloak and craft. It's symmetrical. It's got like these holes in it or something. Very, very odd. Anyway, we're going to look at C.1, I think. Yeah, we're going to zoom in. So this is just moving in on that C element. And here it is with some enhancement. Again, what is very telling is the color signature. How do we have this raspberry red color, but then blasted with white beyond, and got some blue back there, but it's clearly its own animal. And what is this happening in the front? All very, very bizarre. If you have any ideas on any of these things, as I always like to say, whether it's based on any kind of physics or scientific information, or just fun and fantastical of what you see in this imagery, let me know in the comment section below if you feel like it. If not, no worries. We're going to zoom in on this thing one more time and look at the color signatures a little bit, like I played with the color saturation levels a little bit just to see what else we could draw out and highlight out of this scene, and this is what I get. So I see a very specific shape here, straight line with like a hole in it, or this is just some other material floating over what would be a solidly illuminated object, I don't know. Here I start to see a triangular form. You see what you see. Let me know if you see anything interesting in the comment section below. Okay, now we're going to look south, and just the overall sky seemed weird. Again, it had that staccato cloud effect. This is actually the moon over here where my cursor is making a circle. Everything was choppy and fuzzy, so I suspected there was cloak and craft above doing something to create that. And so with some enhancement, look at this. We see this long, like very linear element, with something kind of crossing in front of it. So this, if you follow my cursor, looks like one element with some cloaking material happening in front of it. I want to say this whole thing is some kind of craft, and it's just getting totally beautifully and masterfully cloaked with all of this disturbed local atmosphere, whatever it's doing to generate that. And I'm going to leave it. I'll leave it at that for now. See what you can see. And that's it. This is the photo of the day and the close of the show. This is a fresh French toast dish created by a culinary master, I want to say, and served up in Miami, Florida. So I'm blessed enough to know a masterful culinary artist, chef, who makes amazing meals. And this was, I just had to take a picture. It was so beautiful. So thanks for watching what I've served up here a while. I appreciate your being here. As always, no matter what's going on in your world, wherever you are in the world, I wish you all the best. I truly mean that. So tremendous peace and love. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.